Ryan Arvlo with Hoffman Weber Construction, and we're here at Fieldstone. It's a townhome association in Lakeville, Minnesota, doing a roof inspection, just trying to get an overall view on the condition of the roof itself. First thing I noticed when I pulled in, it's a 3-tab shingle, which nowadays it's a little bit older shingle typically. We know it's an aged shingle. When we've talked, we've learned how old it is, so we know it already. Also, on the north side, we can see algae, moss, lichen, see those things growing on it. What's common from that is the sun is hitting the south sides, where the north sides it's not nearly as much, and it's not getting a chance to dry it out as well. So as you can see at this roof, especially when you look down this way, it's pretty dark. You got some dark stains and spots, and that's algae. So we got a lot of algae growing there. There's some lichen right here. Some of these green spots are what we call as lichen. Also over here we have moss. So we got a lot of these spots over on this side as well. The sunlight not hitting it, not drying it out is what's causing that, and it doesn't dry out as fast. Also, by them being here, it retains moisture, so it stays wet even longer than the rest of the roof. Any of this moss, lichen, algae, moisture will gather there. It won't dry out as fast. It'll deteriorate the shingle quicker. So it is something really important to keep an eye on, to understand what it is, what it does, how it deteriorates the roof, and ultimately requires it to be replaced. People don't realize, often realize, is the metals. There's a lot of these metals that have zinc in them, and zinc will actually kill moss, lichen, and algae. You can see in here how it's dark right here above it, and below it you can see how it looks a lot cleaner. You're not seeing the algae there. So this metal right here probably has zinc in it, and that's what's probably keeping it a lot cleaner than what you see up here. You know, it's not just the algae that makes this look dark, but actually if you can look closely here, it actually deteriorates. The granules just start to wear off a lot more than over here where it's cleaner underneath, where the zinc is cleaning it off. Also, we're looking for cracked, loose, missing tabs, especially on a 3-tab shingle product like this. And you see right, we have here half of a missing shingle. A lot of times the wind is grabbing them, flipping them up, cracking them. If it flips them up enough, it's easy to tear off. It just becomes more susceptible to the wind and peeling right off. A lot of times in these older roofs, we'll be seeing shingles that have lifted. They'll crease. Over time, they might get lifted enough where this crease will actually break. This one's really loose. Sometimes they get blown right off. This one's probably ready to blow pretty soon. But then you also have these concealed nails, especially this one. This really concerns me. It's really deep into the shingle. It's probably just basically right at the roof sheathing level, and it's rusted, so water's definitely getting down there. It's a good chance that water's traveling down that nail and getting into the attic. So this one would be good to keep an eye on and probably get it repaired right away. So this repair we can see from quite a ways away just because it's the wrong color. It's a pretty common color here, so usually it's pretty easy for us to match this up a little bit better, but it is what it is. You can see that they did not remove the old shingle. You can see remnants, it's still there. So they just slid this one up under it. And then they put nails going through this shingle. Proper repair would be just basically to loosen the shingles up around this one, and then have access to basically removing this entire shingle, sliding a full shingle in there, nailing underneath it, and then sealing everything down that we loosened up, and you shouldn't see any exposed nails like you see here. Other things we want to look for is just blemishes, bad spots, spots that are wearing out, nails that are popping through, or even mechanical from maybe somebody's tools that was up on the roof. You can see some spots in this area here that there's some holes that have worn out. They look like they shouldn't be leaking, but it could be an issue if left that way over time. Almost always see some caulking or silicone on a roof, but when you see multiple layers of caulking in different colors, kind of makes you wonder if there was a leak that was trying to be fixed and they really weren't sure how to fix it, so they just keep caulking it. A lot of times it can take care of a leak, but it will typically come back. So if that's the case, it should really be inspected quite frequently. You can see that silicone was applied to these, but it's starting to wear out, especially when you start seeing signs of rust like you have here. You can tell that it's starting to wear out and should be re-siliconed. When we're installing shingles on a roof, it makes it a lot easier for us to install them straight when we chalk lines. So we continue to chalk lines going all the way up the roof line. It's additional time and work to do that, but it's really important to do. So we really try to focus on doing that, keep the line straight, makes it more aesthetically pleasing, but also it's a better install. It's going to help seal it off better and be longer lasting. So when we're inspecting roofs, we'll a lot of times look for how straight the shingles are. In this area, you can tell they're not the worst, but they're not perfectly straight either. They could have done a better job. So flashing is extremely important when it comes to roofing or siding. It helps keep the water out of the home. As long as everything else is done properly, flashing is properly used, you get the right product, it's installed right, it should help really keep the water out of the home, help it last a lot longer. What you see right here is what we call dormer flashing. And what we're looking for is that it goes all the way to the ends and then goes a little bit beyond. That's really important here. Looks like that was done right. You can see little seams here. These are each pieces of step flashing, and when we're installing the new shingles, what we do is we put the shingles on, then we put the step flashing on, the shingles over that, and step flashing over that. So otherwise, when this is not present, or if it's installed wrong, a lot of times that really leaves this exposed where the roof meets the wall. In this case, it's a fascia piece. It leaves it exposed, and a lot of times water starts leaking in there. So we really want to look for these when we're inspecting roofs, and in here it looks like it's done right. One other thing that I noticed right in this area, I call this kick-out flashing. So what's really important when the roof slope comes down and you have any wall surface beyond the roof is that there's kick-out flashing that'll actually direct that water back away from the wall. So looks like this was installed properly as well. I was also noticing how these shingles, they stick out quite a bit further than normal. It's good to have it sticking out, 3/4 inch or so from the sides as well as the eaves. But this sticks out quite a bit more than that, and it's covering a lot of the gutter, and maybe that's why these are added. The gutters might not be working as well as they should be because of that. Still a lot of satellite dishes on roofs today. A lot of times we'll see when we get up on these roofs, especially if the shingles are getting older, we'll see dead brackets where the dishes, homeowners are no longer using them, and the dish company comes and removes it and leaves the brackets, which is better than trying to take them out and try to seal them up themselves. But I see some roofs that have a lot of them on there that can become unsightly. A lot of times these cables can kind of get left out. They don't clean up the job after them, so some of the stuff can get unsightly, and if they didn't seal that right, yeah, that can be a concern. So it's important again when we're inspecting, looking at these, making sure they look sealed off. We're installing a lot more of these dish mounts. Us as roofers know how to seal off roofs, so when we can install a product like this, we're doing our job to keep everything sealed off, and then the dish installer can come in and just install right on top of that to keep from penetrating the roof, anything that avoid having them to seal anything off, which again, we're going to know a lot more to do that because that's what we do for a living. Doing a lot more of these, think it's a great product. It also helps avoid some more of those dead dish mounts. A lot of times we see the dish installer will bring the cable through the roof vent, which is definitely a lot better than drilling a hole through it, right through the shingle as we've seen before. But in some cases they'll actually damage it. Looks like this one, they actually opened it up and broke it a little bit. You can see some cracks in here. And now this is exposed. This is opened up and exposed, especially if you get a wind-driven rain coming from the south side here, it can get right into the attic. Checking the lint in these laundry vents is really important. Number one, if they start getting plugged up, they become a lot less efficient and becomes really hard to dry your clothes. And two, most importantly, can be unsafe. If they get really plugged up, can definitely be a fire hazard, so you should really look at these every so often. So in summary, we saw a lot of things on these roofs that we often see with roofs this age. Saw some creased shingles, loose ones, missing tabs. Saw a lot of exposed nails. Some were silicone, some were wearing out. A lot of dishes that weren't maybe causing a hindrance on the function of the roof. So I'd say in general this roof looks aged. If it doesn't get replaced sometime soon, definitely should do some extensive repairs to it to help it last longer.